Good afternoon, Alex Woods here, financial mis-selling litigator. I've had an interesting case hit my desk over the past couple of weeks in which an elderly couple have been faced with repossession proceedings and in fact appeared in court on the basis that they failed to keep up their repayments in spite of the fact that they've been missold of payment protection insurance that has clearly contributed or at least exacerbated their arrears. And the question that I've been asking is, because I've had a couple of cases like this hit my desk, is there something of a time bomb ticking away because of the fact that banks have failed to properly assess payment protection insurance complaints on top of second charge mortgages, or have simply not settled those complaints in full and have then proceeded to bring repossession proceedings after claimants have defaulted? Now, I'm going to run through the facts of the case just quickly, and that is, obviously this is an anecdotal posting, but as I say, it is a pattern that I'm beginning increasingly to see come through in terms of the cases I'm handling. I'm a small civil litigation unit, so I don't have hundreds of cases, but I'm surprised at the numbers that are coming through. Now, this is a case in which a couple took out a loan of £62,000 odd, and back in 2005 were told they had to take a payment protection insurance product of nearly £12,500, and take my word for it, it is one of the most I'm beginning to sound like a cracked record here, but it is one of the most astonishing exercises in financial mis-selling that a bank sales representative could ever have committed. I mean, not only were their arms forced up behind their backs in terms of being forced to take out the payment protection insurance, but there was absolutely no paperwork at all. And in fact, they only actually got a payment protection insurance policy document. I'm not talking about a key features document, I'm talking about the whole policy itself and the key features document 2 years after they'd actually allegedly taken out the insurance policy. Anyway, for a whole host of reasons, not least they were also told when they tried to claim on the policy that the policy didn't exist. It was a bang to rights mis-sale. They then tried to claim, as I say, the claim failed. Then, subsequently, they started to fall into arrears, lost their jobs, and as a result of sickness. And the branch manager was quite helpful in trying to resolve the issue, and she looked into the complaint. However, she concluded that all that was required to happen was for the insurance to be cancelled and for a pro-rata payment to be made against the account. So that's what she did. And that was about £8,500. But if you look at the initial £12,500 payment protection insurance and you run interest on it over 3 years, you're looking at a loss to the client of around 15. So it barely gave them half the money that they were entitled to. So I wondered what was going on, and I noticed that the branch manager had encouraged the couple to make a complaint through the normal channels, because she was obviously conscious of the fact that a cancellation on a pro-rata basis is not the same as having your complaint successfully resolved. So I had a look at the letter that was sent to my clients about 3 months after the branch manager had made this cancellation offer, which my clients were simply not satisfied with and wanted to review. So they made a complaint through the normal channels, and the complaint letter they got back, and this is during the first half of 2011, is just appalling in its complete lack of any sort of proper identification of the issues, assessment of the issues. I mean, it's a very short letter, and that has the audacity to actually, and I'll just quote, "As part of my review, I've considered whether you were eligible for the policy." Interestingly, one of the two claimants was not eligible. "Whether the policy was suitable for you and whether we provided appropriate information to you. As a result of this review, I am satisfied there were no issues with the sale of the PPI attached to your loan." And as I've previously mentioned, there was absolutely no paperwork provided at all. So this assessor has done absolutely no work in attempting to even begin to look at the complaint. This is almost a standard template letter that's just been knocked out to kick this complaint into touch. So I went surfing this morning on the internet, and because I wanted to just see if I couldn't get figures on how many complaints had been made against Lloyds during 2011, and what percentage of appeals to Financial Ombudsman Service had been overturned. So I was astonished to discover it was even worse than I thought. That Lloyds, in the first half of 2011, they had about 9,500 complaints appealed from the bank's complaints procedures to the Financial Ombudsman Service, of which, sorry, I still can't believe the figure, I just have to check it on this piece of paper, 98% were upheld. So, you know, it hardly comes as a surprise to me, really, if I think about it. Now, the next question that follows on from that is, well, I mean, you know, what is this time bomb that's ticking away? So I went onto the government website and pulled up the statistics from the Ministry of Justice websites on the number of repossessions that they've been. And what's interesting with these stats is that during the last recession, at the peak when interest rates were somewhere near 15% in 1991, you've got possessions of 237,000 claims, and then it drops to 223,000. In 1990 it was 216,000, quite substantial numbers of claims. You don't get anywhere near those figures in 2008. You get 212,000 in 2008, but then it drops away quite significantly to 165 and then 147. And clearly what is happening, of course, is that interest rates are at this all-time low. So it really only takes for interest rates to go up, and they don't need to go up for very, very much, for there to be a whole slew of repossessions. And if you look at both the quantity of payment protection insurance claims that have been missold by banks, if you look at the relatively small number of repossessions there have been during what is, by all accounts, the worst recession that we've had since the Great Depression, you do start to wonder whether there isn't a real problem round the corner with large quantities of missold payment protection insurance claims that have not been properly resolved, that have then subsequently led to repossession proceedings. And I suspect you may have a lot of repossessions, but since the Access to Justice Act was so substantially dismantled as of 1st of April this year, 2013, one of the big questions will be, and since if you speak to the Financial Ombudsman Service, they'll tell you it takes 12 to 18 months to assess a claim, and although they have a fast track kind of emergency procedure, it still ain't going to happen in a hurry. And a lot of these people are calling me like a week, I say a lot, a smallish number, but it's not an insignificant number, calling me barely weeks before their repossession hearing. Then you start to see rather a scary picture, and you start to wonder just where these people are going to turn and for assistance. And I just conclude by first reminding you that in this particular anecdotal case, you have a 12.5 grand payment protection insurance policy that was cancelled by the bank in 2011, and 8.5 odd grand was paid off, by the way, not given to them in cash, was set off against the balance, when they're probably more likely entitled to somewhere in the region of 15. And I'm not even casting my eye into the future as to what they might be entitled to in terms of their liabilities over the life of the loan and the arrears that it's caused them to fall into because their claims on the insurance policy itself are rejected is a whole other question. You start to worry that that these people will have nowhere else to go, and they will simply have to bite the bullet. And unless a judge is assisted by a lawyer with significant enough experience, one just wonders where they're going to go for assistance. Thank you very much for your time and attention this afternoon, and look forward to posting you next week.